Hey everyone, I am talking with Dave Hellrazor from Australian black and thrash metal band Hell Machine. Hi Dave, thanks for having a chat. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So what got you into listening and then playing music?
I was lucky when I was very young. I had two older brothers. One of them in particular, he's a big muso into heavy metal, and he got me into heavy metal stuff like Pantera and Slayer when I was probably 11 or 12 years old, I reckon.
Okay.
So I got into heavy metal very young. And then even my old man, he introduced me a bit more to the classic stuff like Metallica and Motorhead when I was in my early teens. And yeah, as far as playing goes, I think a lot of metalheads when they're that young just want to end up playing something. All my mates were playing instruments at the time. And yeah, because bass was the easiest one to pick up, I decided to start playing bass when I think it was about 15, 16, bought my first bass guitar.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, so everything went from there, like you started in bands, etc.
Pretty much like there was, a lot of bands when I was in high school. There was a couple of metalcore bands and death metal and stuff like that. And me and two other mates, we formed a band called Guns and Robots, and all of our songs were about robots. And it was kind of more like old school trad, hard rock, heavy metal stuff. We wrote a couple of tracks, and that's where I really started, practicing and getting better and jamming out with friends. And we had that project going for all through high school. Really, it was really fun, but nothing ever came of it. But I guess that's where I was really able to kind of like start getting into playing and yeah, getting a bigger interest in music myself.
Yeah, that's very cool. So pre Hell Machine, we spoke just before about this Extermission, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the one. So my older brother, the brother who got me into a lot of heavy metal, he wrote like a demo CD, wrote a couple of songs. This is probably about 15 years ago now, and asked me to play bass on it. And so we did the demo, and it was just the two of us at the time. And after that, we found a few other guys who wanted to join the band and expanded it to a full live lineup. Did a lot of shows, and did an album. And that's where I really kind of cut my teeth playing live, and got a lot more chops and a lot more into performing and writing as far as heavy music goes.
Yep. And then, so we jumped to, is it 2015 or 2016 and Hell Machine was born?
More or less. So kind of as an extension of Extermission, really, I guess like 99% of bands out there, we had a big kind of rush of creativity, and we're all together and we wrote an album and we played a lot of shows for a couple of years. And like it happens with a lot of bands, people got older, had kids, people left town, moved away, and the band basically just fizzled out into nothing. And I had originally been writing riffs and trying to write some stuff for a second album. And after a while, when I figured out that, the band was never really getting back together or wasn't going to do anything, I didn't want to just sit around and go, well, I can't do anything now. I decided to start Hell Machine as a project for me to kind of get out and play my own music and, put those riffs to work. And it was really born out of the ashes of Extermission, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, no, very cool. And so, yeah, 2016, you brought out a demo, Welcome to Hell.
Yes.
Um,
That, that was all self-produced, just written in my bedroom, had my computer, garage band, couple little studio monitors, wrote, recorded, produced everything on that myself, which you can probably tell because it sounds pretty hard, pretty raw, and not very well produced. But yeah, that was my first foray into putting my own thing out there, everything that I'd done myself, and just getting it out into the world.
yep. So yeah, Hell Machine was away, and so did you like look for members locally then, or you just wanted to go by yourself like a solo project?
Originally, it was always intended to be just a bedroom project. I didn't really think it would go anywhere, because it was just bass and drums, and I had never actually performed any of it live. I just wrote it all. I wrote it so it could be performed live. There's no overdubbing. There's no multi-tracking. It's all just bass.
Yeah.
And I wrote it that way, but I never intended it to. I never was looking for it to be a band. And I showed it to a few people, and then one of my friends showed it to another friend who was a Mal Machine, who ended up being the first drummer for Hell Machine. And he heard it, and he sent me a message and hit me up and said, "Hey, like, I really like this, this kind of little project you're doing. Would you be interested in like me playing drums for you?" And he used to play for another really good death metal band called Miasma, who are now since split up. But at the time he was doing Australian tours, and they toured Indonesia, and they did really well for themselves. So to have him, come on board and hit me up and to be interested in playing in it was pretty amazing at the time. And yeah, I guess it just kind of all fell together, accidentally almost.
Oh, that's cool. And was that the drummer that played on Merciless Hate?
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah, so I did all the original demo was all just computer program tracks.
Yep.
But after we got together, realised we actually could play the stuff live, wrote a couple more tracks. Then we self-produced Merciless Hate, that first album. That was released that in 2018. We recorded everything ourselves, set up everything, wrote everything, and just sent it off to be produced, mixed and mastered. And that was the first album.
And that was all in Alice Springs, was it?
Correct. Yeah, we had a studio share set up that we had with a lot of other bands, a rehearsal room, a studio, and a few other bands recorded there and practiced there as well. So it was really handy for us because we didn't have to go in and hire a studio or do anything like that. Mal was also he's an audiovisual technician and does sound for bands and knows the tech side of things really well. So he produced all those sessions himself. Him and another friend he used to work with, they came in, set up all the mics, set up all the computers, they did the whole production side of things. And we did the whole thing in one weekend, actually. Queen's birthday long weekend. We did 3 days, recorded all the tracks, all the vocals, and then we just sent them off to a producer for mixing, mastering, and a bit of a tidy up. But it was a very quick process, smashing it out.
Oh, it's awesome. So Alice Springs had a pretty good band sort of going on there, or?
Back in the day, I think it's probably quieted down a little bit now, but back in the day, I was part of this group called the Black Reef, and there was quite a lot of local bands. There was about 5 heavy metal bands, all kind of like death metal, black metal, thrash stuff that shared about 12 people that were all in about 5 or 6 different bands each. And for a while there was quite a budding scene, lots of young bands. Even before that, there was a few of the older guys. There was always some hard rock and heavy metal bands kind of going in Alice for a town so small as it was. I feel like we really punched above our weight. There was a lot of bands playing, performing, touring, doing some really interesting stuff. So at the time, Hell Machine really got off the ground. There was actually quite a lot going on. We got a lot of opportunities to play live, play a lot of gigs, play at festivals, stuff like that. Yeah, it was a good time.
That is cool. I'll just jump off the Hell Machine for a little bit. There is so many bands in Australia. Who are some that you like listening to or have admired when you're growing up?
Growing up, I feel like growing up in Alice Springs, being such an isolated place, there was always the local scene. There was always some cool bands there, but I never got to see a lot of, I guess, like each city has their, bigger local scenes and stuff like that. So growing up, I guess I probably didn't really know much about the Australian scene as a whole, underground or bigger or anything. I was always growing up into stuff like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Dio, Black Sabbath, Merciful Fate. That was kind of the things I was, listening to the more bigger stuff from the 70s and 80s. That was really what I was passionate about younger. But I wasn't really aware of much going on in the
local scene.
the local scenes anywhere in Australia until kind of I got a little bit older and we started getting a few bands coming to Alice Springs for the Blacken Festival, or I started to just go on a holiday in the city and check out some local bands. So yeah, early on I wasn't really aware of any, I guess.
No, that's fair enough. It's a massive scene in Australia. Obviously you're aware of now. It's really good. Yeah, definitely. So, with that, some of the gigs you've played, you got a favourite one that you played, or it got a good story from a gig?
Probably still one of my favourite ones from Hell Machine. It's got to be our first Melbourne gig, and one of our first gigs away, actually. We played one called Hell on the Bay, which is a Melbourne-based festival, or small, like a day event, but it was on a boat, which is pretty cool. Not many bands can say they played on a boat. But Lockie from the band Hybrid Nightmares, they're a Melbourne-based, it's like Black Death bands. They've been going for years. He ran this festival and he saw us play at the Blacken Festival in Alice Springs years ago and offered us a spot. And it was actually before that we didn't have an album, and we had all the songs, and that gig was kind of the one that gave us a bit of a kick up the arse to go, well, maybe we should just record all these songs. And that show on Hell on the Bay was actually part of our release for the album. And it was a cool show. It was Hybrid Nightmares, Autopsy, and Requiem.
Okay.
So all got on a boat, sick show, good party. Yeah, first real big gig away, put on a really good show. I was sick as a dog going into it, and somehow managed to pull off the show. Lost my voice by the end of the night. And, found out I had a massive chest infection and got real crook, even worse, weeks later. But yeah, it was totally worth it. It was, it's nothing quite like playing a good show in Melbourne. As far as Australia goes.
Well, they've got a huge scene. Obviously, they get a lot of support along to their gigs.
Yeah, and that was a sold out show. I reckon there was 350, 400 people on that boat, and it was packed. And we were kind of joking about it. We were playing, and the ceiling's really low, and the room's really long and tight. And being a two-piece, we were like, man, the people at the back probably don't even know we're a two-piece because they can't even see us. And we sound like a full band. But no, it was a killer show, like good crowd playing and looking out the window, and then you're just like cruising around the harbour at night. Yeah, it was a real special one for me, one that I still think about today.
No, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that one. So talking about being a two-piece, you set up your rig with your bass. Very interesting. A lot of people probably would like to know a little bit about it. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, more or less. It's pretty. The setup is pretty basic. Essentially, I run the bass into an octave and splitter pedal, and that allows me to run one feed through a guitar amp and one feed through the bass amp.
Yep.
I've seen some two pieces or bass bands, and they'll just run through one cabinet. And I feel like you still only have one cab going, but how we're able to produce our really big sound is we're actually still playing through two cabinets. And as I've worked on the setup over the years with the pedals, I've got another pedal in there that actually allows me to go through two guitar cabinets.
Oh, wow.
So when we recorded the last album, we actually recorded bass and two guitars all at the same time. And it's all no overdubs, no, backing tracks or anything. Everything's just live. So
that's
I found that's the way to get a good sound, the biggest sound you can get with a two-piece. You can sound like more than a two-piece.
Yeah, 100%. Live, it comes off like you're massive.
Yeah, that was always the intention. Sometimes I feel like two-piece bands sound like half a band. And my intention with Hell Machine was always to keep it interesting, make it, we are a two-piece. You're obviously limited in some respects writing music, but the idea was always to make it sound as big and as interesting and as full as possible, to the point where it distracts you from the fact that we're a two-piece band.
Yeah. So moving on, Relentless Aggression came out in 2021. Was that recorded in Alice Springs as well and then moved off, or did you head off to a studio?
That was actually recorded in Melbourne, and that was another bit of a funny story to that one. We spent a couple of years right at the tracks, I think 2-3 years jamming and playing the shows live and honing all the tracks. And then we went to Melbourne in, I think it was 2020, and lo and behold, what was happening at that time was the COVID lockdowns.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a friend who was an ex-Alice Springs guy, Troy McCosker, and he's a music producer, tours with bands, great guy. And he had produced the 2 Miasma albums that my ex-drummer Mal used to play in.
Yep.
So we decided to go with him because the first album was a little bit more raw, and we just knew we could do better. And if we had a good producer, we could do better. So we flew into Melbourne, went into the studio that day, set the kit, pulled some sounds. Everything's looking sweet. We're all happy to, have a good, week and a bit of recording. And we woke up the next day, and of course, Melbourne's gone into lockdown, hasn't it? And we were lucky enough that we were staying with Troy because he's a mate. And we just kind of went, well, fuck it. He lived 5 or 10 minute drive from the studio. And we went into the studio that day and went, well, we're here. Let's just record this album. And we went into the studio. 5 minutes later, he gets a call from his boss saying that he can see us on the security cameras and we were all going to get in a lot of trouble, and he was afraid of getting a fine in that crazy Melbourne COVID times where everyone's dobbing on their neighbours. And
wow.
It was a wild time. So anyway, Troy did manage to convince his boss, like, everything's going to be fine. We just come in, we'll record, we'll go home. No one's going to know what we're doing. This recording studio was at the back of like an industrial area.
Okay.
So it wasn't, and it was in the outer suburbs in Melbourne, so it wasn't super, populated or busy. So we basically, in the middle of COVID, we went into the studio every day, went home on the way home, got a carton of beer, smashed beer all night, went back into the studio the next day, and it was this very kind of isolated little bubble where there was really only the 3 of us and Troy's girlfriend, Alana, the 4 of us in this little bubble for about 10 days, just going between the home and the studio. We couldn't go out, we couldn't do anything else, and all we did was just lived and breathed and played this album and, had a good time over that, about 10 days.
Oh, awesome. And then, that was it? Headed back home, or?
We had to wait for the lockdown to get lifted. And in a good way, Troy had a home studio too. So he did the mixing and mastering.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to, once it was all tracked, we were able to sit in his home studio and we did a lot of the mixing and mastering with him, which was good because we were able to sit there and just do a couple of hours each night thinking about this, thinking about that, being able to listen to in person instead of what can be the process sometimes, sending emails and tracks backwards and forwards and you listen so it was really handy in that respect. And so I think we spent another like 4 days just tweaking the album here and there, and then finally they lifted the restrictions just quick enough for us to be able to get out. And then not 3 or 4 days later, Melbourne got locked down for like 3 or 4 months. So he could not have timed it better or worse, I guess you could say. We got very fortunate though. We were able to smash out the album, get out of Melbourne. Otherwise we would have been stuck there for months, really.
So it was meant to be.
It was a good experience.
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. Very intriguing, actually being able to, like you say, sit there and instead of sending things back and forth, actually be right there and mix and mess around with it and stuff. So
yeah, it was good. Very involved process. It was nice to be very hands-on and just no distractions really, because we had planned to meet up with some friends and do this. We actually had a gig booked at that time as well in Melbourne, right after our recording schedule, which got cancelled. So we were able just to basically devote all our time and attention over that 2 weeks to just that album.
Yeah, no, very cool. So 2021 was Relentless, which we just talked about. You got any new music that you're working on at the moment?
We do. So I'm a notoriously slow writer, but I have nearly finished the last one more track to finish, and we'll be doing another full-length album. So awesome. We have started having a few of the new tracks in our live shows. We'll put 2 of the new ones in there. And so it's going to be 7 new tracks and a cover on the new album. But this recording schedule, release time, all of that is still nothing confirmed yet. But it's definitely happening. It's going to happen.
Oh, no, that's awesome. So maybe now to mention your new drummer, Ash Infernal. How's he going as the new member of Hell Machine?
Oh, he's amazing. Great guy, very dedicated, very, very good fit for the band. I guess I don't know if anyone's not familiar with us listening, to bring them up to speed, the band did start in Alice Springs, but about 4 years ago I moved to Adelaide. So we're now an Adelaide-based band. And me and the previous drummer, Mal, we did tour and play shows around Australia for about 3 years, with me living in Adelaide and he was still living in Alice Springs. So that did get a little bit hard after a while, just the travel and the distance, and
yep,
it got difficult. So, we both decided that it was kind of better that I look for someone else. And I was looking locally in Adelaide for a while and just could not find anyone suitable enough. And Ash was messaging me for a while, and I said I didn't want to go. The whole reason I was looking for another drummer was because I didn't want another drummer who lived interstate. And he just wore me down eventually. And I just said, okay, let's just do it. And it's, albeit he's a lot closer than Alice Springs, but he does live in Broken Hill. So it's about a 6-hour drive away. But, he's great. He's very focused, very dedicated. Fits in perfectly. And, we make it work now. So I think it's just over a year now he's been in the band. And of course he'll be playing on the new album as well.
That's awesome. Has he chucked in anything to the new album at all?
I guess he'll just be doing his drum parts, but the way of Hell Machine, I mean, I've always written all the music, all the lyrics, all the arrangements, all the riffs.
Yep.
It's very much always just been a solo project, and I'll demo up a song, I'll send it to Ash and say, learn this song, and he'll change some drum parts. I might have a beat there and he'll do a better beat, or obviously the fills. He's way better at doing the fills, better feel and that. So he'll add his flavour on the drums, but I guess we haven't really collaborated on writing the music.
Okay, that's cool. So I was lucky enough, first time I reckon I seen you was Churches of Steel. That was pretty amazing. Still remember a couple of mates absolutely blown away by you then. And recently I just seen you again at Metal on Murray, which was awesome. He's absolutely kicked ass at that gig as well. But talking about gigs, you got a couple of good gigs coming up?
We do. We are playing in Adelaide. We've got, it's about 4 or 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
Warbringer support, US thrash metal band, one of the best new wave thrash metal bands of the last, I think they've been around for about 20 years now. So they're coming to Australia, and we're lucky enough to get on their support show at the Ed Castle. I think that's the 24th of April. So That's not long away. That's going to be a really great show with our mates in Hindon 10 and Anoxia, a really sick death metal band from Melbourne. So that's a killer show. And it's on a Friday night, which we're never lucky enough to get Friday, Saturday night gigs in Adelaide for big international bands. So, that's going to be a really good one.
Yeah.
And then in May 23rd, we're headlining the Metal United Down Under in Adelaide as well.
Yeah, 12 bands on that lineup. That's a huge day.
Yeah, that's going to be a long day. That's going to be fun. It's good. And headlining, which is great as well. Yeah, we've only done one other headline show in Adelaide, so it's really exciting for us.
Yeah, that is. You got anything else coming up in later in the year?
We've got a few things in the pipeline, but nothing that's been officially announced yet. So we've got to keep the lid on them. But a couple of interstate shows, and I guess we're just really trying to get the recording schedule locked in and focus on doing this next album in between then.
Oh, that's cool. So, people keep an eye on your social media to find out what the latest is going on.
Yes, big things coming.
No, that's awesome, especially with the new release. That'll be awesome. So where can people actually get their hands on some Hell Machine merch if they're looking for it?
I guess the best place is come to one of our gigs. We've got all our stuff for gigs. It's cheaper than sending it through post.
Yep.
We've got everything there. Or we've got the Bandcamp. Bandcamp's the best platform we've found. We've got all our, shirt, CDs, vinyls, everything we offer is all available through Bandcamp. So if you search Hell Machine and Bandcamp, you can find us, or Instagram, Facebook, everything kind of funnels you into that same spot where you can find everything.
No, awesome. Yeah, so thank you very much for having a chat, and all the best for the future with Hell Machine.
Legend. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me, mate.